When you work with mobile devices, most of the time you're going to have a touch keyboard. And the touch keyboard allows you to literally touch in a field to type where you would normally click, and then you're going to see an online keyboard pop up. You see it is a full keyboard. You've got an option to change to numbers. You've got control keys. You can manage brightness. We also have an option to do uppercase, backspace. Very similar to a normal keyboard. You can also change the keyboards that you're working with. If you want to close it because you have a real keyboard, you can also do that by clicking here on the X. So the touch keyboard could be harder to get used to, but again, as this presented across my screen, I could touch type the same way I normally would. There are some touch screen gestures. Now, these take a little bit of practice so that they're intuitive, but as long as you're running a tablet with Windows 8.1 or higher, meaning Windows 10, etc., you can use different elements for the touchscreen. So if you just wanted to select an object, all you have to do is tap on it. Very similar to clicking a mouse, you're just tapping on it with the end of your finger. If you want to select something, it's very similar to double clicking. You just tap twice. It'd be tap, tap. If you want to display a context-sensitive menu, you want to press and hold for a few seconds. That's equivalent to the right click. So for a right click, you're going to tap, but you're going to hold it there. If you want to zoom in or zoom out, you pinch two fingers together, you stretch them away from each other. Again, a lot of you have seen these motions just because we all have mobile phones or smartphones now. You can slide your finger across the screen horizontally or vertically to scroll. You can display Windows charms, and you can drag selection handles to select things under the select context. So all of these are very similar to any handheld mobile device smartphone, and they are going to be consistent. There are some differences between Office 365 on a Windows tablet versus a PC. First off, tablets provide touchscreen to anything above Windows 8.1 and Windows 10. So if you're running Office 365 with a touchscreen, certain features would be enabled in allowing you to touch and to use pointing instead of clicking. Tablets do also provide a built-in touch keyboard, so you're typing literally right on the screen, but you also have to keep in mind that most tablets have limited hard drive space. Now, when I say limited hard drive space, this doesn't mean that the drives are technically smaller. It means tablets are pretty much what you see is what you get. If I had a tablet and I wanted to upgrade the hard drive, the memory, or any of the other components on the inside, in most cases, I'm not able to do so. I always tell people, when you buy a tablet, you're buying it until you're done with it, and then you're buying a new one, because upgrades really aren't on the radar. And that's what I mean by hard drive space. Most of them are not shipping with a terabyte of space. You might have 256 gigs, you might have 500 gigs, but you don't have the same array of hard drive space as you normally would on a standard PC. Now, if you're using everything that's going to be web-based and Office 365-based, then you're going to be all set. So it's not something to worry about. It's just something to be aware of. If you're running Windows 8.1 or Windows 10, it'll also provide a full laptop capability where you can install virtually any other application you need on that laptop itself. You do have phone and tablet choices. If you are here at Office 365 and you're looking for some setup guides, notice we have phone or tablet, and each one of these you can click through and get some help on how to set them up and what's going to be available to you. You also have protocol settings. Now, when I talk about protocol settings, there are certain areas where we're looking up, let's say, a POP setting. A good example where I'm going to put a POP setting is, let's say you've got an all-in-one printer, scanner, copier, fax machine, and you like to scan to emails. Well, in order to scan to emails, you have to put incoming, outgoing servers, an example. So it's going to ask you for more information, what port, what's your encryption method. And based on that information, we're going to put it in so that when you scan something, it actually comes into email. You can also do IMAP settings. IMAP is the successor to POP. So POP was first, IMAP came second, and SMTP has everything to do with just sending mail. So it might simply be that in order for your all-in-one printer to send you the scan, that you simply just need these settings right here. We can also configure text notifications on your smartphone. So if you're on the phone web app, you can display your phone options. And you're going to see here, in order to find them, we first click on options, and then Office 365 has done something that makes me a little bit crazy, and sometimes I like it more, so I guess I'm a little confused here. When I go to settings, I get a certain subset of settings, but it's not all settings. So you're going to go in there and say, what is she talking about? I don't see phone options. I don't see text messaging options. So you click here in this magic little box, and in this case, I typed in text, and you're going to see set up text messaging or voicemail preview. So we get to automatically search. Now, I do find this easier than going through long lists looking for the right setting. I just search for it and it finds it. What I don't like is, by default, you may not see text messaging right in settings. In order to bring that up, you might have to search for it. If you happen to access 365 and you're looking for notifications from a mobile device, if it happens to be on a Windows-based phone, a Windows phone allows you most tasks. You can download, you can edit them right there on the phone, you can take documents offline so you have a saved copy to work with. Now you might be thinking, I'm not going to work on an Excel spreadsheet on my cell phone. Well, I'm here to tell you that I just bought the greatest keyboard. It's called a Jelly keyboard, and it's not as big as a laptop keyboard, but it's certainly big enough, and it communicates with my phone. I put the phone on a stand, and I've got a full keyboard, and I've actually created some documents. It's a little small, but it's much easier to do with that keyboard. If you're on a non-Windows phone, like an Apple phone, your activities are going to be limited because it's not a Windows-based platform. You can view anything you want. You can take a look at shared documents. You can view them in text view. And then depending on what app you happen to be using, certain commands might be available. So an example, if I'm just using the browser, I might see just text versions of the documents, but if I install Office 365 on my iPhone, you'll see I can bring up the 365 version of Word, and I'm going to have certain commands available there. In this demonstration, we're just going to show you how to use an on-screen keyboard. So I'm currently broadcasting this to a tablet, and on the tablet I want to compose an email. So when I hit the to button, notice here I can bring the on-screen keyboard, and I can start typing on this just as I would a normal keyboard. So an example, if I wanted this to go to Molly, as I start typing, you're going to see that Molly appears, and I could fill that in. And then here, I've got my keyboard. I can click and drag to move it out of the way, and I can say this is for Molly Clark. I'm going to add a subject. Again, bring the keyboard forward, and the subject is going to be team meeting is canceled. So once again, we're going to click right down here, and we can continue to write about the meeting that's going to be canceled. And when you're all done, all you have to do is simply use the on-site keyboard and the touchscreen to send it out. The on-tablet keyboard will appear whenever you touch the screen. You'll get the little icon. All you have to do is give it a tap. The keyboard will come forward. And like anything else, when you do tap that keyboard to bring it forward, always remember that we have this X, so if you need that to go away, you can certainly do that as well. Typing or touching back in the middle of the area will bring the icon back, so you can certainly bring it back as well. A lot of keyboards also have a stylus, and the stylus does allow you to write. This is going to depend on the tablet itself and the tools that you have, meaning what you might have on a simple touchscreen versus what you might have on a brand new Surface Pro might be different both in translation and ability to use some of these tools. But I just want to point out that I can type in hello, and hopefully it'll transcribe it, and I can hit insert, and it's going to show it right there on the screen. And as you can see, it is not perfect, but it does go through a couple rounds until it makes sense. And now we're going to go ahead and just hit insert to show you that you can write it, and then you can insert as soon as it corrects it. So on-screen keyboards can be useful. Remember, that particular utility is going to change based on the technology you're using for a tablet, but it is going to be effective, and it's going to work just fine. In this particular case, I'm going to tap on discard, and then discard, and I'm going to go back to the Office 365 screen.